Hello, and welcome to Unseen Geographies, the podcast where we explore the hidden forces that shape our world. I'm your host, and today we're going on a journey to a place you might think you know, but I guarantee, by the end of this episode, you'll see it differently. We're going to the Horn of Africa. We're going to Eritrea. When I say the center of the world, what do you picture? The Giza pyramids? The old city of Jerusalem? Maybe a specific point in the middle of a continent, like a monument in Kansas? Well, what if I told you that in terms of planetary forces and invisible energies, one of the most significant, most potent, and most strategically placed locations on Earth is the small nation of Eritrea? And I want to be clear, this isn't a political statement, it's a geophysical one. Today, we're going to break down how Eritrea's unique position, its dramatic elevation, and its place in the Earth's magnetic field make it a fascinating nexus for our planet and for our technology. Let's start deep underground. Eritrea sits astride one of the most violent and active geological features on the planet, the Afar triple junction. Now imagine the Earth's crust not as a solid shell, but as a mosaic of massive, cracked pieces. That's what tectonic plates are. The Afar triple junction is a place where three of these massive plates, the Arabian, the Nubian, and the Somali plates, are all pulling away from each other. They're literally tearing the continent of Africa apart. It's a planetary zipper coming undone in slow motion. This incredible geological activity does two things that are absolutely crucial for our story. First, it creates extreme, almost unbelievable change of elevation. In the region, you have the Danakil Depression, one of the lowest and hottest places on Earth, sinking to more than 100 meters below sea level. And then, just a short distance away, you have the Eritrean Highlands, a massive plateau that soars to over 3,000 meters. That's nearly 10,000 feet at its peak, Ambasoira. This isn't just a mountain range. It's the edge of a rift valley, a colossal shoulder of land pushed up by immense subterranean forces. The second, this tearing of the Earth's crust makes that crust thinner. The mantle, the molten layer of rock beneath the crust, is much closer to the surface here than in most other places on Earth. And this, folks, is where things get magnetic. The Earth's magnetic field is our planet's invisible shield. It's generated by the churning of its molten iron core, and it protects us from solar radiation. But it's not a perfect, uniform bubble. It has lumps, bumps, weak spots, and areas of intense focus. And in a place like Eritrea, where the crust is thin and the land is rich with volcanic rock, you get what are called significant local magnetic anomalies. The Earth's magnetic field behaves differently here. But there's more. Eritrea is also located very, very close to the magnetic equator. Now, this isn't the same as the geographic equator. The magnetic equator is an invisible line where the Earth's magnetic field lines run perfectly horizontal to the surface. This has profound effects on charged particles and energy in the upper atmosphere, the ionosphere. So let's put it all together. You have this convergence, a dramatic geological rift creating extreme elevation, which in turn creates local magnetic variations, all happening right near the planet's magnetic equator. It's a geophysical perfect storm. Okay, so what? Why does a thin crust and a weird magnetic field matter? Well, this is where it gets really interesting for us in our modern technological world. This is where we talk about radio communication. Let's put on our communications engineer hat for a second. If you wanted to build the most effective radio transmission site possible, what would you want on your checklist? You'd want height for a clear, unobstructed path. You'd want a powerful and stable ionosphere to bounce your signals off for over-the-horizon communication. And you'd want a quiet environment, free from electronic noise. Eritrea offers all three, in spades. Now, you might be thinking this is all just fascinating theory, a happy accident of geology. But what if I told you that a global superpower realized this exact potential decades ago and built one of the most important listening posts of the entire Cold War right there? This wasn't a fantasy. This was Kagnew Station. From the 1940s all the way until 1977, the United States Army operated a massive installation on the Eritrean plateau, just outside the capital, Asmara. Let's break down exactly why it was so critical, using what we've just learned. First, the elevation. From their perch on the Asmara Plateau, American technicians in buildings with ominous names like Stonehouse could hoover up signals with an almost perfect line of sight. They listened to Soviet missile tests launching from Central Asia. They monitored Arab-Israeli military chatter during the Six-Day and Yom Kippur Wars. They intercepted diplomatic cables from across Africa and the Middle East. Second, that location near the magnetic equator made it an incredibly reliable communications relay. Kagnew Station was the central switchboard for a global military network. A signal from a ship in the Indian Ocean or a base in Southeast Asia could be bounced off the ionosphere to Eritrea, where it was received cleanly and then relayed back to the Pentagon. At its peak, it was arguably the most important node in the entire system. It is said that communications from the Apollo moon missions were routed through the Kagnew Station. Messages that decided the course of the Cuban Missile Crisis and the Vietnam War pulsed through its circuits. And there was that third bonus factor. It was radio silent. High up on the plateau, far from major industrial centers, the natural signal-to-noise ratio was exceptionally low. Trying to pick up a faint signal, it was like trying to hear a whisper in a quiet library instead of a crowded stadium. The giant white radomes, looking like alien golf balls scattered across the landscape, were a testament to this perfect convergence of geography and physics. Kagnew Station was, for a time, America's most important ear on the world. So what happened? Why isn't it still there? The answer is a classic 1-2 punch: technology and politics. The rise of geostationary satellites in the 1970s made massive land-based relay stations like Kagnew less essential. But the most important reason was what happened on the ground. The growing Eritrean War of Independence made the base increasingly insecure for the Americans, who were there under an agreement with Ethiopia, the power Eritrea was fighting. By 1977, the giant antennas came down and the Americans left. But here's the key takeaway for our episode today. The Americans left. The Cold War ended. The base is now a ghost of its former self, its buildings repurposed as part of a university campus. But the geography, the elevation, the magnetic field, they're still there. The fundamental geophysical advantage of that piece of land has not changed one single bit. The historical precedent of Kagnew Station is the ultimate proof of concept. It demonstrates that Eritrea is not just theoretically a global center of communication. It has already played that role on the world stage. It's an unseen center, powered by the very heartbeat of the Earth, a place whose story is written not just in the history books, but in tectonic plates, magnetic fields, and the secret histories of global power. That's all the time we have for this journey. Join us next time on Unseen Geographies as we uncover another hidden story shaping our world. Thanks for listening.